Good day, fellow Duel Commander players. This is Christian Agbon, aka Agbrin, and in this video, I'll be sharing my personal experience with deck building philosophies, fiery strategies, and spicy tricks in playing Mono Red in DC or Duel Commander, specifically with Feldon Ronum Excavator as your commander. Okay, so for a little bit of background, I began my burning passion for DC Mono Red back in 2015. Since then, I grinded and top 8'd multiple tournaments with different red commanders, starting with Zurgo, Karizev, Ragavan, Ardos, and now Feldon. Then for themed tournaments, I deployed Ken from Street Fighter and Ymir from Lord of the Rings, which I both top 8'd as well. So in this video, my discussion is divided into three major parts. Alright, let's kick things off with number one, deck building, or what I would like to call the Fiery 99. So the most important math is not counting down your opponent's life from 20 to 0. What's more important is you should plan out first the 99 cards you have in your library and that one card in your command zone who is Feldon. So why Feldon? Simply put, because with just 2 lands in your opening hand, you have a guaranteed 2-2 attacker who can swing as soon as he hits the battlefield and who has a chance to replace itself with a triggered ability. Now for the 99 other cards that comprise your Mono Red army, let's begin with first a deck breakdown. So for this example, I'll be using my current deck, my own personal Feldon deck, which is comprised of 26 creatures, 35 lands, and 68 other spells. So out of those 26 creatures, I run 13 1-drop creatures, counting Kumano faces Kakazan. So you might be asking, why 13? So in my experience, the best start that won me a lot of games was when I had to deploy a threat on turn 1 to pressure my opponent. So I asked myself, how could I consistently pull this off in a 99 card deck? So I had a math wizard friend, Agustin Ireneo, or Neo, shout out to you, who shared a tool with me that helped me calculate my draw probabilities conveniently. So from that tool, I discovered that if I had 13 1 mana value creatures or 1-drops, I had a 66.91 chance, 66.91% chance rather, of drawing one copy in my opening hand. So to simplify, I would always have a 1-drop in 2 out of 3 games. So by that same token, I run 35 lands because it gives me an 82.48% chance of getting a 2-lander in my opening hand, and that's an opening hand that I'm confidently keeping. So if we apply that same logic with your spells, and you craft a smooth mana curve for it, your deck will be guaranteed to run like a lean, mean burning machine. Knowing the probabilities of your draw will help you mulligan better. So that's very important as well. So to quote GG for Goblin Guy, one of my favorite burn content creators on YouTube, he said that if your opening hand doesn't have 10 damage, 1 creature, and at least 1 to 2 lands, you probably want to mulligan that hand. Deck building around this or his modern burn concept is strong but hard to pull off in a 99 card dual commander deck. So remember this concept: redundancy equals consistency. So before jamming spells into your 99, think about your draw probabilities, your mana curve, and what you want to keep in your opening hand to get that W. Alright, so let's go to number 2, and I'd like to call this your burning beats, or your play patterns. So now that you have your 99 ready to fire, let's talk about how you want to play your 7 cards and your succeeding draws. So actually, the first thing that you want to be aware of is your position, whether you're on the draw or on the play. First, and this is most important also, is to look at your opponent's commander. Look at your opening hand and then ask yourself, who is the beatdown? So you probably heard about the legendary article by Mike Flores. To sum it up, basically it just means that you have to know whether you're the aggressor or the control in the matchup. So in my experience, if you are on the play, most of the time you're the aggressor, especially since you're the red deck. However, specifically in matchups like the popular in the meta now Yoshimaru, you would sometimes take the control position even if you're on the plane, and take control first of your position before deploying threat. So you wanna have an open mana to interact and basically remove Yoshimaru from the board before it gets bigger. But here are some general guidelines on archetype matchups that you may want to consider, and this is just based on my experience. So these are 4 archetypes. Let's first start with tempo. So if you're playing against tempo, you want to apply pressure during their turn by casting instant speed burn spells to disrupt their tempo, and by doing so you would be able to resolve your threats during your turn. Also, and this is a good matchup for us against control. So against control matchups, keeping a creature heavy hand and consistently applying pressure from turn 1 onwards usually win you the game. And of course, resolving a blood moon against multicolored commanders like Esper, which is very popular in the meta right now. So keeping an aggressive hand and perhaps a Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon in your opener would definitely seal the deal and win you the game. Now, for aggro or mirror matchups, my tip when playing Feldon against fellow Feldon or like aggro heavy mono white or Yoshimaru deck is that, and this is a basic or general concept, whoever has more creatures in play has the advantage. So my advice is to clear the board before turning your own creatures sideways. Lastly, for combo or reanimator matchups, all you need, and this is a pro tip, is acceptance. You do not have sideboard cards for in Duel Commander. You just have your 99. So yes, accept that they are your worst matchup, and you have to pray to win. And to sum this all up, I just want to share that you must first know your position before taking action. Okay, moving on to number 3. These are some spicy tricks, synergies, and interactions that you may encounter or you don't know of when playing your fiery Feldon as your commander. First, I want to call this Feldon's Fury. So this is the scenario. You're faced with 3 1/1s on the opposing side of the battlefield, and you have a Fury in hand to pitch. What you can do here in this situation is to distribute 1 damage to each of the 3 1/1s and deal the excess 1 damage to your own Feldon. This way, you've cleared the board, replaced card you pitched for Fury with Feldon's Exile trigger effect, and also now you have a direct attack to your opponent. For redundancy of this effect, you can run cards such as Pyrokinesis, Roiling Earthquake, which for 2 mana, you could sweep the board, exile a card with Feldon, and deal 1 damage to your opponent. And you could also do this with Fury or Fiery Confluence as well. And to some extent, or in some situations, you could use Forked Bolt, dealing 1 damage to Feldon and 1 damage to another creature, and Art Trail, dealing 1 to Feldon and 2 to any target. Okay, so the next scenario I want to point out is how important Lelia, the Blader Forge, is in your 99. So practically Lelia is one of the most synergistic and perhaps your secondary commander when you're playing Feldon. Why? Because it has a lot of tricks that you may not know of. First is, in this scenario, you both have Feldon and Lelia in play. Be mindful though that Feldon's triggered ability will trigger Lelia's triggered ability as well, since you are exiling cards from your library. This same effect works with multiple impulse draw effect cards such as Light Up the State, Reckless Impulse, Friend's Resolve, and so on. So also note that cards such as Earthshaker Kenra and Squid Dubious Monarch, their ability when you exile cards from the graveyard or you exile Earthshaker Kenra from your graveyard will also triggers Lelia's ability as well, since you be exiling card from your graveyard as well. Alright, so to my fellow mono-red players or Feldon pilots out there, whether you build Burn or RDW Shell for your Feldon, my final words would be this. First is know your 99. Second is know your position in the game. And lastly, third is know your tricks or know your spells and how they interact with each other. Okay, so to quote a mono-red lord, Javier Dominguez, he once said in a video in an episode of Card Market that if you kill an opponent who still has cards in hand, that's card advantage. Why? Because they never got to play those cards in the first place. It's probably one of the most important magic theories contributed by Jay Schneider and slide decks in the past. So you may have zero cards in your hand, but your opponent's life is zero. Alright, so that's it for the video today. So final word would be red deck always wins. So good luck and fire away, Feldon pilots. And good luck on your next tournament.